how exactly do Social Security spousal benefits work? That's the most common question I get asked about Social Security. Recently, I've been doing presentations in my community for a not-for-profit, helping people better understand the complicated nuance behind Social Security claiming decisions. And the biggest takeaway I get on everyone's feedback forms has to do with their misunderstanding of how spousal benefits work. So let's cover how they work. Is there a penalty for the spousal add-on for claiming early? And is there a benefit to claiming later? So generally for this situation, we're talking about a couple who is currently married. There's usually a working spouse and a non-working spouse. Picture a scenario where one of these spouses stayed at home with children for most of their working life, and thus doesn't have much of an earnings history with the Social Security Administration to contribute to their own benefit. If you want to know everything that goes into how your benefit is calculated, this video guides you through all that. Usually if both spouses are working, so we have a higher earning spouse and a lower earning spouse, the spousal benefit will not come into play. And that's because the spousal benefit is 50% of the working or higher earning spouse's primary insurance amount, or PIA, at their full retirement age, or FRA. So if the lower earning spouse has a benefit greater than 50% of the higher earning spouse's benefit, then the spousal benefit would not apply. But often, non-working spouses will find their benefit to be less than 50% of the working spouse's benefit at full retirement age. That's when you should make sure you understand how the spousal benefit works. So this video is for you. Here's an example. Mark and Mary are both 62 years old, and they're looking at their Social Security statements. It says that at their FRA at 67, Mark's benefit will be $4,000 and Mary's will be $1,500. Let's go through all the possibilities here so you can see the impact that various claiming decisions would have on the spousal benefit. If they both claim their benefit at FRA, Mark's will be $4,000 per month, adjusted for a cost of living adjustment or COLA between now and then. Mary's will be 50% of that, so $2,000. Again, ignoring COLA, which we'll do throughout this entire video for simplicity's sake. The way this works is Mary will receive her benefit of $1,500 plus a spousal add-on of $500. That's the difference between her base benefit and 50% of Mark's benefit. Understanding the difference between the spousal add-on and her base benefit will be important as we consider penalties for claiming early. Now, what if Mark files early? Well, remember, Mary's spousal benefit is based on his PIA. If he files early, his PIA will be permanently reduced to whatever his benefit amount is at that time. For example, claiming at 62 would result in his benefit being reduced by 30%. So his $4,000 benefit at 67 would now only be $2,800 if claiming at 62. That means Mark's PIA would now be $2,800, not $4,000 anymore. At that point, 50% of his PIA, $1,400 now, is less than Mary's benefit of $1,500 at her FRA. With those adjusted figures, she would not be entitled to any spousal benefit, whether waiting until 67 or also filing at 62. So that's the impact if the higher earning spouse files early. The PIA in the calculation is permanently reduced. But how is the equation impacted if Mary, in our example, files early? If the lower earning or non-working spouse files before FRA, not only will the spouse receive their reduced benefit, but there will also be a penalty applied to the spousal add-on. That's why we broke it down for you earlier. That penalty is a reduction of up to 35%, not just 30%. So in this case, if Mary files at 62, her base benefit will be reduced by 30% from $1,500 to $1,050. Now her spousal add-on won't start being added to her monthly Social Security paycheck until the higher earning spouse, Mark in this case, files his claim. So until then, she's just getting her reduced benefit. Now remember, her spousal add-on would have been $500 had they both claimed at FRA. If Mark claims at 67, Mary will, at that point, start receiving her reduced spousal add-on. It will be reduced by 35% since she started her claim at 62. So now, instead of $500 extra each month, the government will send her an extra $325 per month. That's 35% taken off her $500 spousal add-on. Does that make sense? Let me know in the comments if that's coming through clearly or not. And remember, with all of this, we're ignoring COLA, the cost of living adjustment, for simplicity's sake. But the factoring for what decisions you should make still applies. Next, is there any benefit to deferring? This one's a little easier. The short answer is no. The lower earning spouse does not benefit from the higher earner's delayed retirement credits, or DRCs. So in this example with Mark and Mary, Mark will receive 24% more by waiting until age 70. Without COLA, that's $4,960. But despite all that, Mary's spousal benefit is still capped at 50% of whatever Mark's benefit would have been at FRA. So it's still a $2,000 cap for Mary. This impacts her in two ways. One, her spousal add-on is not going up as a result of Mark deferring. Okay? Two, in fact, if she defers, causing her base benefit to be credited with her own DRCs, those delayed retirement credits, her spousal benefit would be directly offset dollar for dollar because of that 50% spousal cap. To illustrate that, let's say she waits until she's 70 as well to file alongside Mark. Her base benefit would increase by 24%, just like Mark's did, except in her case from $1,500 to $1,860. But her spousal benefit after the spousal add-on cannot be greater than 50% of what Mark's benefit would have been at FRA. In other words, it cannot be greater than $2,000. So that means her spousal add-on would now only be $140. In the end, at 70, she's getting the same net benefit whether she defers herself or not. I had this come up with a client recently. Their numbers were close enough to Mark and Mary's here. Since they were starting to retire, they were moving everything over to us for our firm's retirement planning expertise. But they told us that they had worked everything out with their previous advisor for their Social Security filing strategy. That wasn't on their initial list, so to speak, of the things that they wanted our help with. Regardless, long story short, they were both planning to defer until age 70. That was their previous advisor's advice. They didn't need the money now, and our Mary, in this real-life example, has longevity in her family. Her parents are both still alive in their upper 90s. As a result, that advisor recommended that they get the maximum deferral possible for both of them. Sounds reasonable enough, but surprise, surprise, sometimes the tax code isn't as logical as we'd like it to be. As you know by now, that was not actually what was in their best interest. But the numbers and how much of an impact this actually was still might surprise you. By both deferring at 70, Mark's benefit would be $4,960 and Mary's would still just be $2,000. If, however, Mary had started receiving her $1,500 per month benefit starting at age 67, now, to be honest, for this client, her full retirement age was actually 66 and some months, but we'll round up to 67 since that's what it will be for most of you considering this today. Now, if she had started that at 67, she would have received that income for 3 years, and then when Mark turned on his at age 70, her spousal add-on would have pushed her up to that $2,000 amount, the same as if she had deferred. How much of a difference did that knowledge, that understanding, that decision make for that client? Well, simplistically, it was $1,500 per month or $18,000 per year for 3 years. That one simple planning decision made them an extra $54,000. Now, if you factor in opportunity cost, that is the impact of them being able to leave this amount of their investments invested and growing, since they now have this offsetting income, they don't have to pull from their investments. Well, it's even more valuable, but you get the idea. Working with an advisor who understands the nuance of retirement planning decisions like these can make a significant difference in your wealth over the long run. If you think you might be a good fit for our firm, there's a link down at the top of the description. But regardless, I sincerely hope this has helped. Next, you'll need to learn how to avoid the 3 largest tax torpedoes surprising retirees. It's right there. I'll see you there.